Yo, what is up? I think we're live here. Welcome everybody. Ken, can you try speaking so I can see your mic? Uh-oh.
Hello.
Right. Okay, we're good. So, all right, well, Ken and I were just going over some of the changes that have been made to the app recently, so anybody who's watching can just watch along with us. So yeah, so previously, well, I guess last stream we set up this login page, right? So you can log in with a valid username and password, and then we validate that login attempt on the server, and then if the attempt was successful, we send back a token, like a special signed token to the client. and then we store that token in local storage. So this is what we were using before. We were using this use local storage hook with our token key. And what I added last night was this deserializer function. So what this does is that it affects the this first value that we get back from it. By default, we just get back like whatever string is stored in local storage. And that works decently well to like tell whether or not somebody's logged in. We just check if there's a user, if there's a token. If there is, then we assume that they're logged in. But this deserializer basically takes that raw string value that lives in local storage and then allows us to do something with it. Like we get this function with the string value as an argument, and then we can like do something and then return our own value. And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking that token. First, I'm parsing it into like a regular string that we can use in JavaScript, and then I'm using this decode function from a library called JWT decode. And what this does is it decodes the values that are encoded in a JSON web token, but it can't possibly know whether it's like truly a valid token or not. It's that can only be determined on the server side, because the server side has access to our JSON web token secret value that we originally signed the token with. But anyway, this is useful just for telling us, we just want to know like we want to pull out the name value of the user that's associated with this token. So that's what this function does. So yeah, then if this decodes successfully, we return a new object with all of the user properties, and then we tack on the token as an additional property. And so essentially what we've got here is like a user. And that's why I changed the value here. This used to be token, and I changed it to user, because we're actually taking the token and parsing it, decoding it, and then returning the decoded value. And if at any point within this block here, an error occurs, so like if the value that's stored in this token in local storage is not a valid JSON web token, this decode function will just throw an error. And in that case, we catch the error using this catch block and then return null for our user. So this actually gives us an extra layer of security, where before our logic was like, if you have a value stored in local storage at this key, we consider you to be logged in. Now we actually try to decode that token, and if we can successfully decode it, then we assume you're logged in. So that's change number one. Then this logic is pretty much the same as what we did before, just we had a token here before. So if we have a user, then we render a button that allows us to log out, and then like the logged in app experience. Otherwise, we render this login form. And the other thing that I did is I just wrapped this whole render statement in this no SSR component.
I was just about to ask about that.
So by default, Gatsby, which is the React framework that we're using, it will try to like statically render all of our pages into HTML files when it's building for production. Because we've been working in development this whole time, we've never run up we've never encountered this bug, but essentially what that means is when we deploy our website, it gets built by a third party. Let's say Netlify. That's like a web host that's commonly used for this type of website. Netlify will build our code, and Gatsby will try to output these like just static HTML files for each page. Now, in that context, there's no user. There can't be a user. In fact, like it's not even about whether there is or isn't a user. we basically don't want Gatsby to statically render either one of these states. We essentially want this part of the website to start off as a blank page, and then depending on whether there's a user or not, then we decide what to render, rather than like starting with one and then flashing to the other. So so no SSR, anything wrapped in this no SSR tag, which comes from this package, it's from mpith react no SSR. Anything wrapped in a no SSR tag will Gatsby will not try to server render it. SSR, by the way, in this instance, it refers to server-side rendering.
Okay.
So that's the idea there. We want this logged in type of view to start with nothing, and then once the JavaScript loads, we decide what to render. So then we pass our user to the app, because when the app gets started, before what we were doing was we were just initializing a new socket.io connection, pointing socket.io to our API URL. But now what we're going to do is we take that user.token property that was set right here. So this represents the user. It has all the properties of a user, but with the addition of the raw token added to it. So then in the app, we take that token property and send it as an authorization header to our socket.io server when it makes that initial connection, or in there, what they call it is a handshake. So when we're creating that socket connection, we send the authorization header, and then on the server side, we want to handle that. So down here, I've basically made here's our old, well, not our old, but like the connection block that we've had this whole time. So when we get a new connection, we set up all of these event handlers and all this stuff. But in order to handle this authorization stuff, I created a socket.io middleware. So this gets run when somebody tries to make a connection to our socket server. And what we do is we first try to pull out the token from the authorization header that was sent, and you can access that in socket.io with this like long chain of object properties. So we say, on the authorization header, we call this match method, and this is just a method that you can call on any string. It allows you to like compare that string with a regular expression. And so what this regular expression looks for is a string that starts with the word bearer, and then there's a space, and then there's some like sequence of characters, and the parentheses here indicate that we want to capture that sequence of characters. And so this sequence of characters is, if it's successful, it's captured in this matches array element at index 1. And then this is kind of what I was talking about before with the JSON Web Token verification versus decoding. JWT verify will actually compare the token with the secret that it was originally signed with, and it will succeed if the token is legit, if it was actually signed by the server. And if not, it'll throw an error. And for all of these cases, like if this throws an error, or if this throws an error, or any part of this errors, then it's handled by this catch block, and we advance the middleware, but by passing an argument to this next function, which comes from the middleware function signature up here. By passing an error to it, we indicate to socket.io that something went wrong and stop the connection. But if something doesn't go wrong, then we first pull out this sub property from the JSON Web Token. I know this is getting pretty like fucking arcane here, but just bear with me here. So
I'm following along, trying to.
So here, what we were doing, where we ended off last night was we were signing our JSON Web Token like this. We were giving it giving it a name property in the payload, and we were signing it with the secret. What I added last night was this extra property on the end called subject, and this is just like this is the way that like JSON Web Tokens represent like the user entity who the token belongs to. So this is a common way of storing like a user ID. We could also just include the user ID in the payload itself. We can say like ID equals user ID. But using this subject option is just kind of like, I don't know, it's more in line with the JSON Web Token spec, I guess. So that's why I chose to do that. But anyway, the long and short of that is that it then allows us back down here in our middleware, we can pull out this subject from this sub property, and this is going to be our user ID. So if the token was valid, we can like really confidently, or with basically 100% confidence, know that this is a legit token. This is the user that sent the token, and we can then use that to fetch the user from the database. So we await this call where we go target the barbers table, where the ID column is equal to the sub value, and then get the first result. And that's going to be our authenticated user for this socket connection. So using this first argument, this socket instance, we can just set a new property on it, socket.user. And if that user doesn't exist for some reason, then we throw an error and it gets caught by this catch block, and we return next, basically halt the connection. Otherwise, we call next with no arguments, which just forces the connection to proceed to this step, where now we have we have a connection established, and yo, what's up, Cam? We have a connection established, and we know from this point on we have a user that we can refer to. We can say like socket.user.id or .name or whatever. We know that this is like the barber that's going to be making all subsequent actions on the server. So yeah, this is kind of just like setting us up for the stuff that we're going to do today, where we're going to need to associate customers with their barbers. And now with this middleware, we have a way to like associate a socket connection with a barber.
Hell yeah. That was a lot.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Pardon me?
Trevor? What are you doing to me?
I figured it was I don't know. I was really just like dying to write some code last night, and this seemed like it was like a good thing to do, just because it kind of like unblocks us for today.
You explained it very well.
Thanks.
Give you that.
Yo, Cam, thank you for the 1 bit, dude. I don't even know what that means. What does it mean to have 1 bit? I feel special. Yeah, but that's really the only, that's as far as I got with that. The other thing that I had to do, this is like not super important, but in order to accept custom headers to that socket connection, I had to add this handle pre-flight request option to wherever we instantiate our socket.io server on the server side. So this basically, I don't know. It basically says we want to allow the header authorization, and we want to only allow it from this origin, which we're going to need to change when we go live, but maybe I'll make a note of that. Change in production. Yeah, and then this allow credentials header as well, which is basically saying that we can send credentials along with the request. Yeah, so that's where we're at now. So now what you're seeing here is like a logged in and secured authenticated socket connection, which is great, and it works just the same as before.
Beautiful.
Oof.
So is that just like basically an extra layer of security?
Yeah, it's an extra layer of security, and it basically means that nobody can send like socket connect or socket events like serve or remove to our server unless they're authenticated with a username and password. And that's really good. Like nobody, I mean, cross my fingers, nobody's gonna try to hack this thing. But like, if somebody did want to, like, really want to hack it, the way that we had it before with no like login or security stuff, it'd be really, really easy to just like create an app, point it towards our socket server, and just start sending events to it. Yeah, it would still be hard. It would still be like a little bit challenging because you'd have to know like the customer IDs and all this stuff. But in any case, this is much more secure, and then the important part is that it also allows us to associate socket events with a particular barber, and that's the part that we needed to have set up in order to do the stuff that we're going to be working on today.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's see. Why don't we just get that started right away? What I'm going to do is add. I'm going to add a few people to the list. If you could also maybe add yourself to the list, that would be sweet. Oh, yep. So we gotta turn on accepting customers first, and now I can add myself. We'll add Watsy48. Okay, that should be enough to get us started. And maybe what we can do before we start, like dealing with these customers, like transitioning them from waiting to served with a barber, what we can do is just attach a barber. We only have one barber in our database. We can attach that barber to all of the people who have already been served, and just get that like text showing up in the UI.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pop open our database. We'll open post-co, and we're going to need to add one more column to the customer table. So if I open up Sorrento, our customers table currently, we've got, yesterday we added this waiting since column. We've got a served at, and maybe we can also just add like a served by column. This will be the type will be an integer, and it'll be linked to the ID column from the barbers table. So what I'm doing is creating what's called a foreign key. So this served by will represent barber. That also means that any value that we pass to served by must be a valid barber ID. So that's kind of nice. Right now it's just null for everybody. So what I'm going to do is going to make a SQL query that just says update customers set served by equals, oh, what is our barber's ID? 1. Okay. Served by equals 1, and I can just execute that, and it should update all of our customers. Oh, except we don't want to update the customers who are still waiting. So I'm going to set all those to null, actually. Okay. And we can save those changes. Now, everybody except for the people who are currently waiting have a barber associated with them. So we want to render. Let's see how we have it in the mocks. We just have it like render the barber's name. We don't really need to know anything else other than the barber's name. But currently we only have the barber's ID, which is good because this is like stable. It means that if the barber's name ever changes, like the barber ID will never change. But we wouldn't want to just store the string value of their name in case that changes or something. Isn't that the name value in the barber table is not like a stable value. So instead what we'll do is for each of these customers in our query that we make to like fetch the customers, we're going to associate like the appropriate barber row that matches this served by int. So here's what this looks like. What we can do is, let's see. So all over the place we're doing this like await DB customers. So we're gonna need to add some more SQL queries and a little bit of magic to this statement, and we're gonna have to do it. How many times do we do this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Is that? Let's see. We do it 5 times. Okay. So maybe what we can do is like we'll try it once for the initial data event that gets sent, and then maybe if it works, we can turn it into like a little helper function, and then we just call that function every all the other 5 times.
Cool.
Okay, so we're getting all of the customers, and what we can do here is we're going to use the join method to say join barbers, and the condition that we want to join them on is where barbers.id is equal to what's it called? I guess we can just say, it's served by, right? And then, well, let's just see what. Actually, let's see. We're gonna need to then make a selection, like what rows or what columns from the barber's table do we want to add to each customer. So we can say select barbers.name, and I wonder if we can. I'm going to open up the connects docs to see what the syntax is here. We can select a column from a foreign table. So in this case, like the foreign table in this example is the barber's table, and then we can cast that barbers.name as like give it a different name so it shows up like nicely, I guess, in our resulting object. So let me just see what the deal is there. Select. So here's a nice little example. We can write an SQL query in here, and I can show you what the output is. We can say like select name and barbers.name as barber name from customers left join barbers on. This is all just like it's straight up SQL syntax, so bear with me here. But on barbers.id equals ID. Let's see if this works. I'm not totally confident that it will. Let's say here instead of just ID, we'll say customers.id, and let's try that. Nice. That didn't work though.
I wish I could tell you why.
I wonder if. Oh, because we're comparing Barber's ID to customer's ID. We want customers served at instead. Let's try that. Because it's camel case, I have to surround it in double quotes. Integer. Oh, not served at. My bad. It's served by. And there we go. So yeah, this join statement indicates how we want to connect the barber table to each row of the customer table. We want to say like join, make available all of the columns in the barber's table to each customer where that barber ID is the same value as the served by column. So yeah, we got barber's name equals, or barber's, we're getting barber's name and we're casting it as this camel case barber name so as to differentiate it from like the plain old name, which is the customer name. But we could get other values too. We could say like barbers.username, for example, and execute that, and there we get salty added to our response. So this is what we're going for, and let's see how we can make it happen in or using connects. Let's see. As allows for aliasing a subquery. Okay, I'm just looking at documentation here. I'm just gonna try something. Let's see if this works. As barber name. Yeah, that might do the trick. Might not. Let's find out. So what I'm gonna do is, in our app inner component, that's the component that renders when we have state, come back from the API. We're just gonna console log customers. Let's see. Yo, what's up, Miguel? How's it going, man? Did you eat dinner yet? Okay, so we got this. I'm just going to refresh to make sure I get that most recent data. And it looks like something it doesn't like something that we did. If I look at the terminal 2, I can actually see that we got a big yeah, we got a big error here. It says error, select barbers.name, barber name as from customers. Okay. and then we do all the inner join stuff. So what this little this bit here that says like barber name as is telling me is that maybe I can accomplish this like renaming of this barbers.name field by just specifying an object here in the select. Like if we just say, we'll go, the key will be the name that we want it to be cast as, and the value will be like the original, what its original value is. And then we'll also just say like, give us everything else from customers. Let's try that. Okay, so if I refresh now, there we go. We got something going on, but yeah, we're still not quite right. Now we're getting all of the
Barber name
data from the barber. That's not exactly what we're looking for here. Maybe we'll say, and yeah, like the name is being overridden and stuff. What I'm wondering is if connects maybe has like a method that just adds an additional column. Set the columns to be selected. What about width? No. Eating ramen, nice. Homemade or did you pick it up?
Yeah, what are we talking here, Miguel?
What kind of ramen are we dealing with?
We talking instant? Are we talking takeout?
Okay, so here's one thing that I think we can do is just say customers dot and then asterisk, and that'll ignore all of the fields in the barbers table. So let's try that. If I refresh now, what happens? Okay, now we have our list again. Everything looks to be pretty good, except there's also a barber name field on every customer too. So that's great. This is exactly what we need here, is this kind of thing.
So now we just need to display that in the JSX?
Yeah. So yeah, let's do that now. Why don't you take over for this? Let me just. Yeah. Okay. It's all looking good. So yeah, I guess we just want to like add that under each of the served customers. So I'm actually gonna follow you, and then you can take it away for that, sir.
Beautiful.
Katie makes this peanut ramen. He says big batch and then leftovers as week.
Sounds great.
That does sound great. I'll all week. There we go. So in the designs, we just have it say like served by, and then the name.
List item, or
we can just make it like you can make it a div within the list item. I think just to make it ensure that it breaks the line, but it'll be in the same list item.
What the hell? So we want customer dot served by.
It'll be available at barber name. The
Customer dot barber name. And we all.
Yeah. Okay.
Want it to say.
Let's take a look, and it does look like we got that. Sweet. So yeah, we have each item in the list now has like a served by person attached to them. That's pretty good. Now, why don't we go back to the server and we're gonna like what's it called? Like abstract that query that we made to fetch the customer with barber name and replace all of the existing instances of just like our get customer type of query with that. Every time we send customers back to the client, we want it to include the barber name. So yeah, we can do that now.
All right. You're referring to this like await DB customers that we're constantly reusing?
Yeah, so like right here, for example, where we're saying like customers equals await DB customers, then we just send that as a data event. We do it here as well, but we basically want that
just to create a reusable function.
Yeah, exactly. So the customers, the way that we fetch the customers down near the bottom of the script. Yeah, right there. We want to like encapsulate that in a function and then just call that function everywhere rather than like making this complex query every time.
Okay. I'll just write the function here and then we can, I don't know where it would make most sense to store it.
Yeah, we'll just store it like at the top level of the app. Like alongside where we define our Express server and stuff like that.
All right. Well, I'll just do that there then. So const.
You could just call it like get customers, I guess.
And we want the. Do we want this one that has? Sorry, where was it?
There it is.
Okay. We want the one that selects and joins?
Yeah, exactly. So we want, we want to get the customers and their barber names every time.
Cool. So we still want. Oops. Actually, no. We want a function within that function.
This can just be a function that returns this like DB customers blah blah blah. Because the way that you can think of it is that like currently we would be saying like customers equals await DB whatever. And we just want this to be stored in a separate function called like GC whatever, and then customers every time we're just going to await this same GC like get customers function.
I see.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. But you could just tack on like DB customers at the top of that, and it should function as it did before. And you can make this get customers function. Basically, we want to return this value, so you can just like you can tack on a return statement before DB, or you can use an implicit return.
True. For a nice little one-liner.
Yeah.
Oops. Like that. So do we want these within the function?
Yeah, exactly. So those will just be tacked onto the end of DB customers, and you can just remove the curly braces, and then it'll all just work. Just like that. That's
beautiful.
it. And now we can test to make sure that this works by replacing the call to DB customers at the end of our script with call to get customers instead.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So to test that this work like does the trick, we can replace this with our get customers function. At the end of the file, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, down there, we're still gonna need to await it because DB customers returns a promise, but yeah, we can replace that with just get customers. Cool. All right, let's save that and see if it still works on the client, and it does. Beautiful.
Can you just give me 2 seconds? I think something's going on with the
dogs.
Yeah,
man, for sure.
I'm just gonna...
Go for it. Well, while Ken deals with that, we'll just take a look at the code, I guess. This is kind of nice. So now we can get our customers using a simple function. It's kind of nice.
Sorry about
Everything
that.
Okay?
Yeah, Mel was gonna take the pups out for a walk, but there is a homeless gentleman resting on our front steps.
I see.
So we're gonna play the waiting game.
Yeah, maybe later.
And then
okay.
Maybe I'll have to ask someone to let me out of my apartment.
Oh dear. Oh, I hope that gets resolved. We got a little bit of time here to kill, I guess. So that's pretty handy. All right, so that function did the trick for us. We now have a list with. We still have a list of customers with people attached to them. Now, the one thing that I noticed though is that our waiting customers are not showing up. What's going on there? I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's all about. So now, let's see. So in total, there's 24 rows that we have 24 customers total and served and waiting, and now we're only showing 21. So maybe there's something in our query here that needs updating. Let's see. Maybe I'm using the wrong kind of join. Could that be? What if I say instead of join, we say left join in the get customers func? And now, okay, yeah. So we were actually just using the wrong type of. I just realized that the music was bumping way too loud. We were using the wrong type of join in our SQL query.
What's the difference with? I've never used left join before.
Yeah, so left join will a regular join will exclude fields or exclude rows that can't be joined. So rows where served by was null, they would be omitted from the result because they couldn't be joined with a barber. But left join it prioritizes the left table, if you will, like the main table that you're selecting from. And so it'll say like, give me all of the rows from the left table, and then try to join the rows from the right table. But if you can't find a match, just continue returning the rows with a null value for. So like in this case, the rows that don't have a barber name is just null. So that's all right.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So now we have that get customers function working. Now we can just go replace all the other instances where we're trying to fetch the customers and emit a data event, and use get customers there instead.
Cool.
Yeah.
You want me to do that?
So you're going to want to keep you deleted a couple rows below that.
Sorry.
So we just want to replace the DB call. Nice. Lovely. I think you need some parentheses in there.
Sorry. Where are you at? This one as well?
I don't think so, because this one, in this case, we're just looking for a single customer. A good way to test this is if you search for like we want to look for instances of this. Where are we? Like the data or IO data events.
Okay.
Let's like you can Command F for IO data events. Here's one, but we've already set it to get customers. IO emit data.
So where are you at? What line are you at?
I'm just following you.
Oh, true. Oh, you have me pinned?
Yeah.
Nice. Would you use it on? You wouldn't use it on like this instance?
No, because in this case, like this call is running a delete function, and we're not assigning it to customers. Maybe what you could look for is like customers equals, because we only want to. Yeah, customers equals. Let's see. So that one's get customers. What else? What else do we have? That one's get customers. That one is not get customers. Yeah, so we got to change that. Okay. That one too. Wonderful. I think we got them.
Lovely.
All right, cool. So you can save that, and now everything should work as normal. Except now, before we start serving any of these rows, let's implement that kind of like barber customer association stuff. So all of this will take place in the serve event that we have set up. So yeah, in there, basically, let's read this function again and remember kind of what we were doing. Mm-hmm. So we try to find a customer from the database with the given ID, all right, and then we send them a message on their phone, and then what next? And then we call this update function. So we say we want to update the person with a served at in a receipt column. So we can just add a served by column in this update statement as well. And served by will be equal to, well, so since in that middleware that I was showing you at the top of this, we store an instance of the barber on the socket.user property. So right here, yeah, socket.user. And so we can access that that socket.user instance anywhere within our socket connection function. So we could probably use that for this served by column as well. And you just need a comma on the line above.
Yes.
And so served by is expecting to get the ID of a particular barber. So so you can just reach into, you can go like socket.user.id there, and that should do it. Nice. I think that's all we need, and then the thing is updated. We get the customers again and return them in a data event. So let's give this a try. Why don't you? I'm just going to refresh the page first, just to make sure that we have the latest, and then why don't you try hitting serve on one of these?
Yeah. What was the username again that we were using?
Salty is the username, and password is the password.
So you want me to try serving someone?
Serve him. Let's see.
I'm gonna serve you.
Oh, nice. And we got served by Andrew there, so that's pretty great. What I'm going to do quickly is create another user, and so we can test this out. You're going to be Salty. I'm going to be Lindsay. And I'm just going to go to run kit using bcrypt so I can generate a password real quick.
Also, I spelled password wrong my first run through. Just like my keyboard, and it did come with the unauthorized.
Awesome. That's good to see.
I was just testing your code. It was totally on purpose.
Okay, let's see. bcrypt.js hash sync test 1 2 3, pass in the salt, and let's see what we get. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna log out of Salty and log in as Lindsay. Okay, I'm in. Let's see. I'm gonna try serving you, Ken. Okay, and there we go. And why don't you try serving Watsy there? Nice, dude. That's it. This is it. Damn. All right. Well, that was pretty quick. Why don't we commit that work?
Yep.
You want to go for it? Oh wait, we need another terminal.
We need a terminal. Lovely. So how would you identify what we just did? We implemented like.
I would say that we associated barbers with customers. Great. Okie dokie. On to the next. That was like the last big feature that we had to accomplish here. Let me just look at our list. Okay. Before we get into the design stuff, one little thing that I wanted to do was just trim down this served list so that we're only showing the people that were served today. What we can do is like we'll create a separate view of customers that all the customers that have been served ever with like searchability and all that stuff. But for this view, I think we only need to see the customers that we've served, over the last 24 hours or like during this day.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So, and I'm wondering whether we should do this, make that like a limitation on the server side. Like, should the server only return people that were served today, or should we trim that on the client? I feel like we can do it on the server. It'll basically mean that we need to augment our get customers query to basically say select these customers and only display the ones where they're waiting since, or rather where they're served at is either null, meaning they're waiting, or they're served at is what would it be? Like greater than midnight of today's date, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, because it has like very classic hours, would it be easier to just do like if only display it if the served at date equals today's date?
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that we're doing with the served at date is it's very specific. It's like today's date, but at a specific time. So yeah, like I'm just trying to think of how. Basically we could account for it by saying, I'm gonna write another SQL query, but we want to say like, let's get today's date at 0:00 o'clock, and then we can write a comparison statement that says like if the served at date is greater than today's date at 0:00 o'clock, that's like a way for us to know that it happened today.
Oh, true. That's a good call.
So I'm gonna open up like Postgres date comparison. How to compare dates. Can I just say, I'm gonna try doing this. Select name from customers where served at is greater than, what's today, May 20th? So it'd be like 2020 05 20. Does this work? Nice, that works. Nice. And if we say 05 19, I'm also going to include this served at column in the response, just so we can verify. There's Miguel, the big guy, at 19. I can't believe that's the only one that we served yesterday. And then here's...
Yeah, shocking.
There we go. I think this kind of thing will work. So we just need to come up with today's date formatted in this particular way. What's the issue here? Oh, okay. So I think we can do this because we're writing this in JavaScript. We can say like, I'm just writing in my console here. I don't know if you can see this.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to create a new date object. Date equals new date. This is now. And let's see, date to locale date string. What does that give us? That's close, but not exactly what we're looking for. How about date to ISO date string? No. Date to ISO string, maybe? That's closer, but maybe this is workable. We can call like date to ISO string, and then like split the string on this letter T. So these ISO strings will always follow the same format, where it's like the date. Oh, this is interesting. You notice how it says it's 521. That is wrong as hell. What about to UTC string? Maybe that'll. No, that's also wrong. Well, I'm gonna go to the Google then.
You're in the future right now.
Somehow.
Browsers in the future.
Somehow.
Are you using a like a?
I'm using Murray's laptop.
Yeah.
I'm on Murray's VPN. JavaScript get ISO date for current time zone, maybe. Oh, we can call format. Is that legal, dude? Okay, let's try this. Date.format? No way. This has been here the whole time. It's why. Here, I'm just going to copy this. Let's try that.
A really old copy.
Date.format is not a function. Great.
Stack Overflow, how dare you?
Honestly.
That's
Two locale dates. Here, I'm going to try this. Date to locale string SV. Okay, that's closer. Locale date string SV. Okay, this gives us what we want, but what does SV mean? That is the question. SV. This works because the Sweden locale uses the ISO 8601 format. All right. Well, this is kind of mysterious, but it works. What do you think? Should we just use it? Say fuck it. Maybe write a comment. And
yeah.
Okay.
I'm all about mysterious code.
Great. Well, let's do this. Inside of our get customers function, then we can also make a condition here that says where served at is equal to, or served at is greater than new date to locale date string and pass in the Swedish locale. And I'm going to write a comment here and be like, we'll say like Sweden uses, what does this guy say? The Sweden locale uses the ISO whatever format. I'm just going to copy his whole comment. This works because the Sweden locale uses the ISO whatever format. That works for me. So this will give us people, this will qualify customers who have been served this day, but we also want to return customers who have not been served yet. So we can also say here, we'll say or where null, and pass in served at. So it'll look for rows where served at is greater than the current, like today's current day, or where served at is null. I think that'll work. Let's find out. And that seems to work. Now I'm gonna add myself to the list.
Yep, I'll throw it in there.
And there I am. Amazing. Okay, that's I think that's pretty good. And yeah, like I said, we can create like a separate page in this dashboard that I'm gonna serve myself. There we go. We can create a separate page in this dashboard that lists like all the customers ever, and that can be like maybe something that we'd tackle after we launch this thing. But yeah, for the purposes of like running the shop, I think this is all that you're gonna need to see.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Well, let's make a commit and then start making some styles. Start making this thing look nice. Finally, right? Where did my pen go? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Limit customers to today. Awesome. We are killing it, dude.
Teamwork make the dream work.
Indeed.
I'm interested to see how Chakra works with like responsiveness.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be really, really fun. I think you'll like it. Actually, I got a little bit ahead of myself and did a tiny little bit of responsive design last night while I was typing on my keyboard in bed. So check this out. If you go to the like log out and visit the login form, and you can make the page smaller, and you'll see at a certain point the layout breaks and it goes into just like one column.
Yep.
So that's all done using Chakra responsive styles. So what two things happen, like our form component like loses its set width. Hey, what's up, Furjay? Welcome back. The login form loses its set width, and we reduce the amount of padding on the left and right. You'll notice like there's, once it gets to a certain size, it bumps up against left and right padding. And then after the break, that padding gets a little bit smaller. And so we can actually check out the login form component to see how that works. So yeah, in the login form, these two properties are the ones that are responsible for these responsive styles. So we have our width prop Are you seeing this in the login form?
Yep.
Okay, so our width prop is using one sort of like technique for responsive styles in Chakra, and then our padding X prop is using the other technique. So we'll do this. We'll talk about this width one first. So you can, before what we were doing was just passing this value 2/3 as the prop. So the width is always 2/3. But every prop in Chakra, every style prop in Chakra also allows you to define the styles as an object. So you can say, like, it gives you access to different keys. So you can say, like, base, I want it to be 400 or 100 pixels. That's like the smallest. That's from 0 up to the next breakpoint, which is SM or small. And then you can say 200 pixels for small, and then medium is the next breakpoint, and then large. And I think there's actually an XL too. Let's see, XL 600. So these are all of the different breakpoints that are available to us. If we check out the page again, you can actually see that in action. So here, I believe this is XL. This looks like about 600 pixels. Yep. So this is XL, and then goes down to large, and then medium, and then small, and then finally base, which is too small for our browser to even resize to, or too small for my browser. But if you open it on a phone, it would get this 100 pixel value. So this is one way to specify breakpoint values in Chakra. And the thing to remember is that it's always working from the bottom up. And what I mean by that is if I omit all of these SM, MD, and LG breakpoints, and I only specify base and XL, this 100 pixels that I applied on the smallest breakpoint will be the same value that gets used for all of the breakpoints in between this one and this one. So now you'll see in the browser, like, it stays 100 pixels until it reaches that XL breakpoint.
Yeah.
So it works smallest to largest. And so that also means, like, you can have intermediary ones here. So if I want to say, like, I want to go from base, and so what this object describes is a component where the base and small size are 100 pixels wide, medium and large are 300 pixels wide, and then finally XL is 600 pixels wide. So the gaps get filled in smallest to largest.
Cool.
So knowing that, I wrote this style like this. We want what this says is that medium and larger gets a 2/3 width, and then everything below medium has no width property set. And by default, block level elements in HTML take up 100% of the width of their parent. So that essentially means that on base and small screens, the form takes up 100% width, and then medium and larger gets the 2/3 width. Look.
See, that's cool.
Yeah, and then this padding X is defined in the alternative breakpoint technique, and this again, it starts from smallest and works its way up. But what this basically describes is like a sequence of values that you want it to hit. So this would be the equivalent of saying, like, base 10, SM 12, and MD 16. But because I'm doing this in sequence, I can just use the array syntax instead and say 10, 12, 16. And this will say, okay,
Bits of 10, small of 12, medium of
Yep.
16, and then if you were to continue adding on, that would be large. Okay.
And extra large.
Cool.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just ends at the last value.
And then this basically means, like, for medium and larger. If I omitted this, it would be small and larger. And And so yeah, this is really useful if you want to define like this like a smooth kind of set of padding values, and that's kind of what we want here. Like we don't care about the padding so much on this size because the actual form inputs and stuff have a max width on them. They're not going to get any bigger than 480, which is the value that we set yesterday. But once the padding does take effect around here, we want the next breakpoint to have a bit smaller padding, and then the final breakpoint to have even smaller padding on the left and right. So yeah, that is at a glance like how to do responsive styles with Chakra. They give you two really powerful options. One that allows you to like specifically target breakpoints, and another that allows you to target like a sequence of breakpoints.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's see. How do you want to go about this? I've got these mocks.
Yeah, I feel like we might as well finish this landing sign-in page.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do that.
Was that a logo that you have, or is that just a Google font?
No, this is the official logo.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. What I'll do is just export this logo as an SVG, so that we can just get nice, like, infinitely scalable logo to use wherever we want. So what I'm going to do is just copy that SVG code from Sketch. Let's see if it gives me the right kind of output here. All right, and I'm going to put it in an assets directory in our client source folder. So it'll be assets.logo or /logo.svg, and we'll just drop that in here. And got all these masks and stuff kicking around. What I'm going to do is actually just go into the SVG in Sketch really quick and see if I can make it as simple as I possibly can. Okay, so we'll be working in this artboard here, and we're just going to have these shapes. Can remove the group, and what I'm going to do is some of these shapes are kind of like these multiple paths with like masking properties among them, and I'm wondering if I can just hit this flatten button. Oh, interesting. Maybe I can't then. Well, let's what I'm going to do is just try to copy all this then and see if that gives me anything better. Oh, it does. Great. I don't know what all that masking business was about, but this gives me what I want. It just gives me a series of paths, and I'm going to clean up this SVG file, remove all this extra stuff that Sketch adds to it.
Just want the paths.
I just want the paths. So
wants a pair of iPath shoes.
That's it. So is that too much to ask for? I'm gonna get rid of that XML tag. Get rid of everything except for this ViewBox property and this XML_NS property, which allows me to preview this SVG in macOS Finder. That's not like a super critical bit of functionality, but F it, dude. We want to look at this in Finder. And then the other thing that Sketch does is it adds these IDs to all of the paths. So I want to remove those. We can also just like the default fill color of SVGs is black, so we can actually omit that as well. So I'm just going to go down to each SVG, delete their ID and their fill if it's black, and then if it's white, which I'll encounter pretty soon, like this one, I'm just going to change this FFFFF to the word white, just because it reads a little nicer. Not that I'm going to be sitting here reading SVGs, but
Hey, you never know,
man. White, and delete this ID, change the fill, delete ID, change the fill. And as I'm doing this, actually, Ken, do you mind adding in the client directory? We need to install a couple of things to allow us to import SVGs. So I'm going to send you a link, actually. SVGR Gatsby. Maybe you can get us set up with this while I'm doing my SVG stuff.
Cool.
Here, sending you a link on Hangouts. And for anybody in chat that's interested, the plugin that we're going to be using here is called Gatsby plugin SVGR. And SVGR is like a library or a set of libraries that enables developers to use SVGs as React components. It's a really, really powerful library, and would recommend it to anybody. All right. So we'll just need to install the dependencies that they talk about in that README, and we should be good to use it after that. All right, let's check this SVG in my Finder. Looks good. Oh, dope. And the other thing I'm going to do actually here is I'm going to create a new folder in our client directory called static, and in there you can add add assets that you want to be deployed alongside your website. In our case, the thing that we want to be deployed alongside it is a favicon. So earlier today, I updated Deco's website and added a new favicon to it. So I'm going to add that same favicon to our site by just dropping it in the static directory. And so that means that when our website gets built, it'll have a favicon.ico sitting at the root of its website, at its like website root. And by default, browsers will look for a favicon at that location, so they'll be able to find it and give us a nice little S in our browser.
Sweet.
Yeah. Cool. So we have our Gatsby plugin SVGR and SVGR Webpack open, or installed rather. And before we npm start again, we can just add that. We didn't want to add that plugin to our Gatsby config. So you can go ahead and do that.
All right.
And the way that Gatsby plugins work is that you can, for most plugins, or for some plugins, let's say, you can just supply a string reference to their name in this like plugins array in your Gatsby config, similar to what we did with React Helmet. And so we can just drop that in there and then restart our development server, and
Cool.
And we should now be able to import SVGs. Now I just realized that maybe this is like kind of overkill, because we don't actually need to import this as a React component. We can just supply this as like the source to an image element, because we're not going to be like changing the colors, like the fills of the logo. But oh well. Yeah, why don't we just do that? I guess for now we can It was still fun adding that, but
Do you
yeah,
want me
you know what?
to
Actually, for now, let's just
uninstall
uninstall
it?
it, and then if we find ourselves needing it again, we can bring it back. But there's no point in having it around if it's not totally necessary.
So I'll erase it from our module
Yep.
exports. And whoops.
A little.
Uninstall dependencies. You just literally npm uninstall and then
Yeah.
the exact same thing.
Here's a little bit of like terminal foo that I'll give you impart on you, I guess. If you delete everything you just wrote, and then you press like up, you can go to your previous command. So you go up to that install command, and then just press Command A to jump to the beginning of your command. Or sorry, Control A. My bad. Yeah, and then you can just step over to install and type in un, and then run that thing.
Wow.
What
did
What the heck?
What did I type?
It looks right. I don't know, dude.
Type install. Maybe it's just like a.
I honestly have no idea. Let's just try typing it raw then. I swear I do that all the time. Like when I install and uninstall dependencies. I don't know.
So okay. At svgr /webpack.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Trippy.
It's super trippy. Okay, well, now we have our. Oh, I see. Well, once this finishes, we'll restart our development server and then add a logo.
Oh my god, it's gonna look so
really
beautiful.
Will.
Did you make that logo, or is that Joe? Who did it?
Yeah, so it was originally just like a photo that he took of the sign in front of the store, and then I like traced over it in Illustrator, and that was like 2000. I want to say 2015 or 2014. It was a while ago, but we've been using that for some time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's still the same one, but Joe might have also done something similar. But I believe we're using my tracing job. Don't speak too soon. All right, let's add this to the login form then.
To the login.
So with Gatsby, you get to, I don't know if Create React App has this kind of functionality, but in Gatsby they enable you to like import image assets, just like you would a JavaScript module. And the way it works behind the scenes is like, so you can actually start typing your import here. Like you could say import logo from, then path to the logo. And what you end up getting, the variable logo becomes a path to the location of the file. How do I say this? It's like Gatsby at build time, like it'll take all of your files, all your dependencies and assets and stuff, and then like put them in a place, and so this logo variable is a path to that eventual location of the logo, and you're going to have to add, because it's not a JavaScript file, you have to add the extension.
Okay.
And now we can use that logo as the source of our of an image. So down where we're like
Should
within.
it like syntactically be uppercase, like capitalized logo?
No, I like naming my file paths with lowercase. So like the only things that are uppercase um, are like components or constructors or things like that. But in this case, logo is just a string. So it makes sense to have it be lowercase.
Cool.
And yeah, you can just add it within the Flex parent because we're already aligning and justifying all of the content towards the center. So you can just create an image tag.
You just do it like a regular image source?
Yeah, except you can use curly braces like that, yeah, and just pass your logo as a string. And that should be it to get it rendered. Let's take a look. Let's see what happens. There it is. Beautiful.
Ooh, beautiful.
It's rather large, but it is beautiful.
Let's get that bad boy down.
Now, and because we're using Chakra to do all of our styling, what we could do is take advantage of that. Remember the box component has an as prop? So what you could do is replace this image, the image opening tag with capital B box. I'm gonna import that from Chakra, and yeah, you just say as image. And now we can give this component some styles as props. So for example, in the designs we have this logo is 100 pixels tall.
Okay.
So you can say H 100 pixels. Nice. And then it's got 120 pixels of margin on the bottom. So you could say like MB. Yeah, dude. And let me just quickly check out 120 divided by 4 is try putting 30. Yeah, let's see what happens. Does it blend? No. Okay. So we're gonna have to just write in 120 pixels, I guess. Nice. I think it's kind of a lot of space. What do you think? Let's try 80, yeah. Kind of like that better. What do you think? Okay. It does.
Clean.
Looks really clean.
It's,
Yeah, so I think this is all right. Now, 80 I think is a value supported by our spacing units. So you could say MB20. I believe. Yeah, and then nothing should change. Go. I believe. Cool. So there's our logo. Let's take a look at this. Like if we give it an unauthorized response, do we still like the look of that? Should unauthorized, should this word, like if you try logging in with a bogus username and password, what do you think of that unauthorized thing? Like should we treat that any differently? We could center it, we could make it bold, I don't know. Or we could just say fuck it and move on.
I wouldn't mind centering it and bolding it.
Cool. Let's do that.
Cool. So
that's all taking place in this text component right here.
Yeah. Okay. the old text component.
Mm-hmm.
So we want. Is it? How is the?
Yeah, you can just do text align center. That's the best, probably the best way to go. And I'd try like maybe bold or medium. Let's see what looks good. Yeah, that looks all right. Maybe give medium a try in there instead of bold. I don't know. What do you think?
Let's go with bold for
Sounds
now.
good. Let's do that. All right. I think this pretty much does it for our login page, huh?
I would say so.
So next, let's start. Well, I'm gonna log in as Lindsay.
Cool. I've got Salty.
Okay. So
I guess we should throw some customers in there.
Yeah, let's do that for sure. I'll add myself. Can.
Just autocorrect it to Can.
All right, sweet. Now, we've got all of our homies waiting. We can now start to mock up or implement some of the designs here. So, here, I'm gonna send this to you. Wait, do you have an image of this, Ken? It's probably in the Techie Scum channel.
Yeah.
If you want to grab that, just so we both have a reference to it. So there's a few things that we want to do, like let's see. So some things that I'm noticing, just like one thing we can do right away is add this sidebar and the logo, and then the other thing is that all three of these elements, so the logged in, the accepting customers switch, and the Sorrento logo are all like in line with each other. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, but for now, why don't we just start with like the red sidebar and throw the Sorrento logo up there, and then just kind of like work our way left to right as we go.
Sounds good.
Cool. So when I'm looking at this layout, we can kind of like imagine this as kind of this as a flex container, where this is one element, like the first element. The flex container goes left to right, and so like here's the sidebar is our first element. Then this like waiting section with the accepting customers part is our second element. And then the served list on the far right is our third element. So it's just like basically like three columns. Yeah, so we can kind of get it set up like that. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do that?
Cool. And would you use boxes for
each
of those?
So what you can do first is, let's see. We already have this, like the outer component here is a box with display flex and flex direction column, and we have a min height set to 100 VHs, a max width. Like this parent, the most outer component can get updated first, I think. So what I would do is just like because it's already a box with display flex, and we need it to be a flex parent. We can just use the flex component instead. So I'm going to go and import that, and you can drive here. So we turn that into flex. That means we can delete display flex, and we'll delete flex direction because we want the direction to actually be row, which is the flex default.
Gotcha.
And then padding X doesn't. We can remove padding X because we don't need that anymore. We can remove max width and margin X, and we can change the min height to a regular old height of 100 VHs. Cool. Or we can just say H. Beauty. All right. Now let's see what that does to our layout. It's probably going to bork it. Oh, you know what? This is actually pretty close. So we can do some reorganizing first of all. Like, one thing I want to do, actually, I'm gonna do this real quick, where we are rendering. Let's see how we're doing this. We're rendering the log out button. Let me think. So if we open up Pages, are you following me here?
In the browser, or sorry, in the VS Code.
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. Right now we're rendering this button, the log out button, outside of the app, because within the app we have all this like loading state when like we make a socket connection and all this stuff, and we want the log out button to be visible even when our socket is connecting. You know, like we don't want to like wait until we have a connection to render the log out button. So it makes sense to put it here. What I'm thinking as I'm looking at this is that maybe it would make sense to do all of like the sidebar stuff out at this level. And then when the app is loading, we have our sidebar, we have our logo, we have the log out button, and then just like a spinner in the middle or something like that.
Yeah, I'm into that.
So, I mean, this works pretty well, like, because we're currently rendering just a div. What we can do there instead is render our flex parent with the same flex parent that you just defined in app inner. We can move that out to this level here. So I'm going to import flex for you from Shocker UI, and then you can flex on them.
Oh, I will be flexing on them.
So, all right, and now where we currently have our button, this is actually looking good. So now we have log out, and then all of our stuff. So we can just put this log out. Well, let's see. First of all, why don't we slap the logo in there? Like we'll have, I guess, the logo and the button wrapped within our sidebar component, and the sidebar can just be like a box, I guess, which I will import for you. Nice.
And then we want the logo beneath it?
Let's put the logo above.
Which we did as a...
We'll do it with using the same technique. Like, we'll make it a box as image. And I'm going to go and do the import logo from assets/logo.svg for you. So that is available now. And the logo in the sidebar is 48 pixels tall. So that would be
48
12
pixels. Lovely.
Cool.
Oops. Is that just self-closing as a...
Yep, you can make it a self-closing tag. Nice. And
box as image instead
because
of just
an
an
image
image?
doesn't take this H prop.
Oh, that's right.
We want to take advantage of the style props that a box gives us.
Cool. Is it only boxes that take those style props in Chakra?
It's any Chakra component. So our button, we can also say H12 and make it 48 pixels tall. Or we can...
So any of these... Okay, yeah, cool.
That's like one of my favorite parts about Chakra is that the style props experience like transcends the whole set of components.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. While we're at it, we can make this sidebar box. We'll give it some properties. So it has a width of 72 pixels, which is 18. I wonder if that's a value. And it's got a color of it's red, but to access the Chakra uses this concept of color palettes. So it's like for each color we get a range of, I think it's 10 different shades. So we want the one right in the middle. So you can say BG equals red.500, just like that. All right, let's see how this works. Oh, it's so nice. The scale goes kind of weird. It's like it starts at 50 and then it goes to 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, all the way to 900 in increments of 100. 50 being the lightest and 900 being the darkest. And the pattern that is used there is called the Material UI. It's like a Material UI palette. So this site that I'm linking in the Twitch chat gives you a good idea of like what Material UI palettes look like, and it gives you an easy way to create them using a base color of your own. So in that color picker in the top right, you can select a base color, and then it'll tell you like, I think these palettes are created in some way to do with accessibility. Like it's associating colors with like the appropriate text color that should be used with it, as you see in like the black P on the top. But in any case, like you can create these color gradients using this tool, and then use them in Chakra if you don't like their default color palettes. But while we're talking about their default color palettes, I'm going to link you to that as well. I think it's chakraui.com/theme. I'm dropping that in the chat. And you can scroll down on this page and you can see each of the color palettes for each of the colors that they support out of the box.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right, so our sidebar is off to a good
It's off
start.
to a good start.
Do we?
I think that our attempt at using 18 as like a theme value did not work, so we're just gonna have to write in there 72 pixels. No problem. And then, oh boy, now that makes our image get resized because it doesn't like that apparently. Max width normal, none. Okay. So by default, Chakra gives all images a max width of 100, which makes them like when they're within a container that is smaller than the image width, it'll just scale to fill the container. But in our case, we want our image to overhang the sidebar. So what you can do in there is just give it a max W of none. Cool. And that should do it. That's for our logo. All right, so the other thing in the design that we're doing is using an icon for the logout, waitlist, and like the customer history buttons. And right now, like we can add all three, but we'll really only hook up the logout button. So what I'll do is we're going to be using a Chakra icon button for this. So you can import that from the Chakra import at the top, icon button with capital I and capital B. While you do that, I'm going to cd into the client directory and install an icon library. So I like using this npm package called React Icons. It gives you access to like hundreds and hundreds of great UI icons that you can use in your app as React components. So we're going to be doing that for our logout button.
Is it icon space button?
It's all just one word. Icon button like that. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that component we'll use that, and I'm going to import sign out, or what would it be? It would be FA for font awesome. Sign out is the icon name from React icons /FA. So I'm going to link another thing in chat. I use this library on pretty much all the projects that I work on. It's called React Icons, and the homepage gives you an idea of how it's used. You can import an icon as a React component, and then render it like as JSX, and then it'll show up as like an SVG rendered in your HTML. Really, really nice. And then if you look on the left-hand side of this website, you can check out all the different icon libraries that it serves. So Font Awesome, this is a huge icon library. It has all like every like company logo that you could possibly think of, and then plenty of UI icons too. Really, really good. Playback uses this feather icon library, which is these really nice kind of elegant line art style icons. Material design icons. You have the whole GitHub Octacons library. So all of the icons that GitHub uses in their UI. So this is a really, really awesome library, and would highly recommend it. But in our case, we're going to use this FA sign out, and I'm going to set up this. Or do you want to set up the icon button?
You can do it if you want to. It's up to you.
Why don't you do? You can do this. So instead of the button where we have like a button with content logout, you can turn that to a self-closing icon button. And we can remove the logout text inside. Nice. So you can just call the component icon button, and it takes an icon prop, and the icon that you can pass in curly braces is FA sign out, like the one that I imported. So it'll be capital F, lowercase a. There you go. That's the one. All right. Let's see how that looks as it is. Why don't you save that? Yeah, Furjay, I'm happy that you discovered it. I try to put everybody onto it that I come across. Okay, interesting. So our thing got rendered, but no icon was in there. Let's find out why.
What is happening?
What in the world? So, you know what? Maybe, could it possibly be that I got the name of the icon wrong?
Oh my god, if you did, I will never forgive you.
Dude, yeah, you should be absolutely pissed if I did.
I'll be fuming.
So, FA, oh my goodness, dude, I got it wrong.
Trevor.
Well, it was a nice stream, guys. We'll see you next week. I made a horrible mistake. I can't.
Is it
It's
FAS?
FA sign out alt is the name. So FA sign out alt.
Ah,
I'll fix the import up here, alt, and delete the old button import that we had from before. And now let's take a look. Will it? There we go. There's our icon. Okay,
beautiful.
so this is a start. It gives us a button. If you click it, you'll log out. But it doesn't look like the button that we have in the designs. So we're gonna give it give the icon button a few different styles. So first of all, the icon button, and you can learn more about these in the Chakra docs, but the icon button takes a variant prop. And the variants that are supported are outline, ghost, unstyled, link, and solid. By default, the variant is solid, but the variant that we're going to want to use in this case is ghost. It's one where it has no background by default, and then a subtle background shows up when you mouse over it.
I was really hoping you were going to
it's
say
not, it's not that subtle, huh?
the hover.
Yeah. The hover is not as subtle as I was hoping, but that's cool. We can get there.
Yeah, and also the hover's not a huge deal because they won't really be using desktops.
True. Yeah. That's a good point. We're gonna want to make it nice anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess we could also just use unstyled and have no hover.
I'm gonna see what that's like.
Let's see what that's like. Yeah, why not? Unstyled. Oh, I see. Well, so it's still the end result is that the button is still a set size. It's 40 pixels by 40 pixels. I think that's like appropriate. But now the icon is off to the left. Let's go back to Ghost. I think that we can make this work. So we're gonna go Ghost, and then we can give it a hover state. You can go to define hover styles. You want to go _hover, and then the prop is going to be an object with the different style props that we want to target. So within there, you can open up another set of curly braces, and we'll define. Let's give it a BG prop of, and you're gonna want to use a colon there. Yeah. BG of, I don't know. How about like red, in like quotes? We'll do like red 300, just to test. Let's try that. Ooh, that's not bad.
Not bad.
All right, cool. All right, a couple other things that I want to do with these buttons is make the icon a little bit bigger. So in the mocks, each of the icons are 24 by 24. Right now, I believe they're 16 by 16. So what you can do to affect that is just set a different font size on I think we should be able to do this by setting a font size here. You can say like font size, just try 24 pixels, I think, but to start off. But then if that works, and I sure hope it does. Hey, it does. Awesome.
We're on a 6.
We can use one of like the theme keys and say like, I think it's font size XL is 24 pixels. Let's try that. Ooh, that's 20 pixels. So let's do 2XL for 24. You actually want to write the number 2XL. All right, now we have our 24 pixel icon. Beautiful. Now, next, let's change the color of the icon. So you can just give it a color prop. And the color that we're going to give it is red 700. So that's going to be the default color for like unselected icons. That's what I got in there. It's pretty subtle. We could go darker, but when you mouse over it, it really like stands out kind of nice. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. Do you want me to see what like?
Let's see what 800's like. Why not? I kind of like 700. It's nice and subtle, still visible. All right, and now the another thing we'll give it is a rounded prop of full. So this will make it into a circle rather than like a rounded rectangle. Awesome. Cool. And now the other thing that I kind of want to do, I mean, you mentioned that they're not going to be on desktops, but this is just kind of a nice thing to do is because it's just an icon and it's not very descriptive, we can add a tooltip to describe it. So what you can do is just wrap the entire icon button in a tooltip component. And give the tooltip with lowercase t as the second t. And the tooltip is going to take a label prop. And we can just say like log out. Perfect.
Take this whole fricker.
Okay. And then save that puppy and see what happens. Nice. We get our logout tooltip. That's pretty sweet. Yeah. Okay.
That is sweet.
Cool.
At it again.
It really never ends, man. Okay, so we have all of this stuff looking pretty good. Let me just do some quick maths. Okay. So we want to center the icon. We also want to give our Sorrento logo some space. And what I'm thinking, hear me out here. Right now we have this, our sidebar has a set width. Our icon button is 40 pixels. Our set width is 72 pixels. And the amount of space that we need to give our Sorrento logo is 16 pixels on the top and bottom, or at the top and the left. So if we do 40 pixels plus 16 pixels, implying like 16 pixels on all edges of the sidebar, that ends up equaling 72 pixels.
Wow.
Now I'm not sure if that's actually going to work. Let's see. So if I go P4 for 16 pixels, I think it's going to encompass the whole logo still. Yeah. So that's not exactly what we're looking to have. But if I then, on the logo, give it position absolute, it should just keep it in the same place, but then the icon gets shoved up. Okay, all right. Well, maybe we just got to keep it with width 72 pixels, and what I'll just do is add a text align center. Let's see if that works. Now I'm worried about the logo. Okay, no, the logo is fine. So now the logo can just get like a margin.
Padding top.
Yeah, like we give it like 16 pixels of margin on all its sides. There we go.
Beautiful.
Now we have our nice little Sorrento logo and a logo button. All right, let's we've got about 20 minutes left. If you're cool with that, Ken, like I also want to be courteous, and I know it's late.
No,
how are you feeling?
To go.
Good for 20 more?
Yeah, I'm just before we tackle the next part, I'm just gonna run to the bathroom real quick.
For sure.
Cool.
This looks really good. While he's going to the bathroom, I'm gonna add the other icons. So to do that, I'm going to we want all the icons to behave a similar way. So I'm gonna take this icon button, make another component up here called sidebar icon button, and we'll just return this icon button. This component will take props, and we're just going to spread all the props that it gets onto the end. That way we can pass along like custom functionality, like a custom icon or a click handler, or even a color override, which we will definitely get to. And now I can just use like sidebar icon button, or maybe I can just shorten this and say sidebar button. There we go. And remove all of the all of the shared parts, and just leave the icon and on click. And it should. Oh, I see. So we're going to need to wrap this in another box for the tooltip to work, but that's fine. Yo.
What's going on?
I was. I'm just working on this. I want to add the two other sidebar buttons to our sidebar, and
cool.
So what I did is I just took the icon button that you created, and made this custom component sidebar button, and it takes props. It spreads all those props at the end of this component, and then just keeps all of the common parts. So all of the icon buttons in the sidebar are going to be variant ghost. They're going to have the same hover effect, same font size, same color. They're all going to be rounded. But then this like spreading of the props enables us to, in the sidebar button, specify a custom icon, custom on click, stuff like that. And then the last part that I want to do here is bring the tooltip part along with it. So each sidebar button is also going to have a tooltip associated with it. At least for now, that's the plan. So we can then just pass a label on the sidebar button component saying log out here, and then up in the sidebar button component where we're defining it, what I'm going to do first is destructure the label prop, and then take all the rest of the props and spread them onto the button. And we'll just use that label up here. And the point of doing this is that before, what we were doing was like this, and I could also just say, you know, props.label, but this means we're also spreading the label prop onto the icon button. and that's not like it's not a valid prop for the icon button. So this is a way that we can easily like separate props that we want to spread and other props that we want to use in a different way. And now I'm getting a red underline here saying that label is missing in props validation, so I'm going to fix that real quick. Say prop types from prop types, and say sidebar button dot prop types equals an object with label. I'm going to say label is a string, and it is required. So now all this should continue to work as it did before. And what this allows us to do is really easily now create additional sidebar buttons. So we'll have two. One, neither of them will have an on-click event. The first one will be like waitlist, and the second one will be what would it be, like customer history, something like that.
Yep.
Okay. And the icons that we're using for those are, I'm going to go to React icons. I think we're using FA history. Yep, FA history and FAOL. No, list. FA list OL. So those are the two icons I'm going to get. FA list OL, and I can auto import that. That's pretty handy. And FA history, and auto import that one. So now we'll have our stack of buttons here. That's pretty nice, but we want them to be a little bit more spaced out. In the designs, I have them spaced out by 32 pixels between each 24 pixel gap. But let's just do some more quick maths here. 40, which is the total size of the icon button, minus 24 means that there's 8 pixels of padding on the top and bottom. So we can subtract 16 from 32, and that gives us 16 pixels between each icon button. That's what we want to implement here. And we can do that really simply by just surrounding all 3 of these sidebar buttons in a stack. I think this will work. Let's cross our fingers here. So Chakra has this stack component. I forget if we've used this before or not, but it basically allows you to, what it does is it applies a set amount of spacing between each of the children in that it gets. So if we say stack spacing 4, that'll give 16 pixels of spacing underneath this sidebar button and this sidebar button, but it won't add spacing to the last sidebar button because it's the end of the list. And indeed, that's what we got here, and we got some funkiness kind of going on here with the width of this thing. So stack by default is a flex parent, and flex parents by default, they're like the default align value is stretch. So what we're going to want to do instead of stretching is, let's see, align flex start or center. Either one would work. Let's try center. And there we go. I think that looks, yeah, that looks like the mock. And I'm also going to add some margin top on the stack element just to match the mocks some more. So let's see. So this has spacing of 48 minus 8. It's like 40 pixels. So this will be MT 10. Let's try that. That might be too much. Yeah, a little bit too much. Let's turn that down. just fiddling on the roof. I think that's what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And in the mocks, we also have the current page indicated by a white color, so we could just give this waitlist one color white. And that should, yeah, great. Cool. Well, let's keep cruising. So we've got our sidebar configured. One thing I'm also going to do with the sidebar is just give it I'm going to say box as a side, so that we give it like a semantic element name.
Cool.
That's that's always nice to do. And now we can go back into the app inner component and start messing with this stuff. So because we implemented this 100 VH flex wrapper in the index component, we can actually, instead of returning like a flex parent again in here, we can just return a fragment. So we can just delete the tag name altogether. This means that we're just rendering, this box and then the grid and so on. And the end result is essentially the same. Okay, I'm also going to remove the heading, and we can move the checkbox into well, you can actually, so with React, you don't need to specify the word fragment. You can just say like this empty tag is the same as saying fragment.
Wow.
Yeah, freaking
More you know.
Crazy. Yeah, so now what we really want to do is separate this into two boxes, like one waiting box and one served box, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
So yeah, let's do that. I think we can just what I'll do actually right now is just get rid of the grid, because we don't need to use that anymore. What happens now when we just have our waiting and served? This is getting there. You can also throw the checkbox at the top of the waiting box, and throw the next customer button at the bottom of the waiting box. This is super rough, but it's gonna get us into the right place. Awesome. So yeah. So I guess the next thing that we want to do is just like implement the proportions and stuff correctly.
Yeah. So are we just right now? They're just each in a div, right?
Yeah. So we can.
Do we want boxes?
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna want boxes because, yeah. Let's do that. Let's make them boxes. In fact, I think the first one, what I'm looking at here is that the first one can be a flex box, because we want to position this next customer button stuck to the bottom of that container, and it's really easy to do using flex. So let's start with that. We can make it that component can be flex, and it's going to be we're going to need to specify direction column. And then the button, like the next customer button at the bottom, I guess it already has empty auto, so that should just work as it is. So if you save, let's see what we get there. Cool. closer. And then we also have like the list and the heading and all that stuff, and the checkbox. Everything but the button is going to be wrapped in a box that gives it padding. So we're going to need to surround those in a box component, and we can give them. It's going to be 40 pixels of padding according to the designs.
You say everything within the flex box, or just within the list item?
Yeah, everything within the flex box except the button.
Okay, yeah.
And Ferjay, sorry I missed this earlier, but you asked what I thought about Next.js after 9.3, and honestly, I don't have a good answer for you. I haven't really checked out Next.js since a very, very brief stint using it years ago. So I wish I had a more satisfying answer for you, but have not looked. I've heard amazing things though. I think it sounds like it's really good. I think you need to put that box. Right now, it's still within like the list, so we just move it outside the closing list tag.
Oh,
No, it's all good. I guess I did the same thing. Honestly, I saw like the first button in the tree, and I was like, oh yeah, that's where. So we want to put it right outside there. Yeah. Perfect.
Sorry, I'm just like different syntax.
For sure. It's all good.
I'm a weak little sass boy.
So now on that box, you can just specify 40 pixels of padding by giving it like, you can say like P10, and that'll do the trick.
We got P10 here.
P10. There we go. Okay, now next we can basically give the served the same treatment. Like we'll give it currently served lives within a box. Like this whole served heading and everything, we can just give that box P10 as well. Wonderful. All right, now we want to make these things like line up properly, right? So
yeah,
or like take up the appropriate amount of space. So the way that I have this set up is that once again we're using like this rule of thirds kind of thing. So the served column is 1/3 of its parent, and the waiting column is 1/3 of its parent, or 2/3 of its parent. So
waiting.
So I'm just thinking like maybe a way like a really tell me what you think of this. Like we could do this in one or two ways. We could have them both of these things wrapped in a flex component, and then like set the width on one to 2/3 and set the other one to flex grow 1. Let's say just take up the rest of the space. We could also take advantage of a grid component and then just specify like the grid template column as, what would it be? It would be like
2 FR and 1 FR?
Yeah, I guess so, right?
I think so.
Let's try that. I kind of like the sound of that. So instead of a fragment, I'm going to import grid again. And you can add that one. I'll add the one down at the bottom.
Alright.
Oh, you already did it. Nice.
Template columns, or is it still grid template columns?
It's template columns. You get the shorthand for using the component. And yeah, let's try this. 2FR, 1FR. Oh man. The suspense is killing me.
Please work. Please. Oh no.
All right, I think this does work. This does, except the only thing is that our grid right now, it doesn't take up 100% of the width of its parent, or like the space remaining in it. So we need to give our grid a flex grow prop of 1, so that it will like consume all of the space available to it. Nice. That's it, man. That is totally it. All right. Now that we have that, the other thing that the designs have is like a slightly different color background on the served list. So you can add that on the box that surrounds the served list. Mm-hmm. And we can just say like BG gray 50. Again, like talking about the color scales. It's gray dot 50. It's so it CSS actually supports both.
Both, yeah.
In Chakra, it's AY because the author of Chakra is Nigerian, and in Nigeria they use that British spelling. So if it was made by an American person, you better bet it would have been EY. But no, they're with us, man.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, this is getting closer. It is now 9. This is when I said we would wrap up. I mean, this feels pretty good. I wouldn't feel too bad about wrapping up here. How do you feel, Ken?
I'm easy. If you want to wrap it up, I'm happy with that.
Cool. Yeah, I think we should probably do that. Like just. There'll always be another session, and sleep is important.
Well, I'm relatively free right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll I'll talk to you tomorrow. Maybe we could even do another one tomorrow if you're feeling up for it. I've got.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're like pretty close to the finish line, so
incredibly close. Yeah, like right now, everything works. It's just about getting the styles down. We've got most of the styles finished. Now it's just about moving things around, changing some colors, and wiping our hands clean.
Cool. Well, maybe next time we can just finish it off and then show it to Deco Miguel.
I like that idea. Let's do it. I'll message you tomorrow. We'll see if it works, but. In any case, this is where we're going to wrap it up today. Stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching us charge along on this project. This was again, like I feel like I say this every time, man, but like every session that we have on this thing feels really productive. Like getting the Barber Association stuff down and then making this much of a dent into the styles just feels fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Great job on the design.
Thanks, dude. Shout out to our homie Matt Cool for putting together some wireframes and some mock-ups. I definitely took a lot of inspiration from the stuff that he made. So if you're around, Matt, thank you. But in any case. Yeah, I'm really pleased to see this thing kind of like taking shape. It's pretty
Absolutely.
good. Yeah. Oops. Well, anyway, guys, that is it for us. Let me see if there's somebody online that could use our fat raid here. Taking a look, seeing if the homies are online. We could raid Gabby again. That worked out pretty well last time. Also, my buddy Sean is playing Dota 2. Ken, any preference from you? Dota 2 versus Graveyard Keeper?
No, I'm gonna make you pick between your friends.
Cruel. All right, guys, we're gonna raid Gabby again.
What's Gabby playing?
Graveyard Keeper.
Red Keeper again. All right, throw it in there.
Yeah, we'll get it going. Thanks again, everybody. We'll catch you next time, maybe tomorrow, and we'll wrap this thing up for good. Yeah, Ken, thanks so much, man.
Thank you, as always.
Peace.
Later, guys.